Okay, everybody, a couple homework questions were asked about problems 10 and 11. This is on the 8.1b worksheet. I probably should have written that down here, so that wasn't good, Mr. Fontana. Let's try that again. 8.1 and the B worksheet. Okay, so what are we given here? We have a right triangle and two sides have been given. 11 miles, that's a big triangle, is your hypotenuse. 5 root 2 miles is one of your legs. X is the other leg. So, anytime you're given a right triangle and you know the lengths of two sides and you want to come up with the third, Pythagorean theorem is what we are going to use. So this is going to be leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. And we fill in what we know. One of our legs is unknown. That's the x. The second leg is 5 root 2. And this is really important, guys. It's very easy to do this incorrectly in your calculator. If you're going to square a number like 5 root 2, which has two factors, you have got to put that number in parentheses. If you don't, you're going to get this wrong every single time. So the 5 root 2 goes in parentheses, and the hypotenuse is 11. And we're going to square that. So we're going to get an x squared plus, and I would imagine that most of you guys would want to use your calculator in order to do this. And that's where it's really important to do what I said a moment ago. You've got to put the 5 root 2 in parentheses. If you don't, if you just type in 5 times the square root of 2 and square that, I do believe you're going to end up with 10 for your answer. So if anybody got the square root of 111, for their answer to this problem, that's what you did wrong. So if I do it properly now, in parentheses, 5 times the square root of 2, close the parenthesis, and then square. So I typed it into my calculator exactly the way it looks here. Both the 5 and the root 2 are going to get squared, and we should end up with 50. Yep, that's what it was. Equals the 11 squared is 121. From here, I bet you're fine. We're going to subtract the 50 from both sides. Okay, those 50s cancel out. We're going to get x squared is equal to 121 minus 50 is 71. We've got to undo that square by doing a square root on the left and balance it with a square root on the right. The square and the square root cancel each other out, so we get x equals. And now, when it comes to simplifying this radical, you've got good news, everybody. This should be music to your ears. 71 is a prime number. There's not a single factor that goes into 71 evenly other than 1 and itself. So that means there's no perfect square factors that go into it, so you're done. X is equal to the square root of 71. We had units here, so we're going to put miles, and that's what the answer is, as precisely as we can write it. X is the square root of 71. Okay, a question was also asked about problem number 11, and yeah, this is an interesting one here as well. So once more, it's a right triangle, two sides are given, and we are looking now for the hypotenuse. So once more, this is a Pythagorean theorem problem. Leg squared plus leg squared is equal to hypotenuse squared. And let's fill in what we know. The order you do this in doesn't matter, but your legs are 2 root 2 and root 10. So one of the legs is 2 root 2. But like we just got done talking about, you need to make sure you put parentheses around that before squaring it. Plus, the other leg is the square root of 10. You can put parentheses around that if you want to, but you don't need it because there's no number out in front. So the square root of 10 now gets squared. Equals our hypotenuse, which is x, that gets squared as well. This is the tricky spot right here. Again, if you go to your calculator, you need to remember to put the parentheses around it. Otherwise, I think you're going to get 4 for your answer, when in actuality, the 2 root 2 squared should get you an 8. Adding to that now, this is actually really nice. I know this looks bad when they give you a number in radical form, but look at how easy this is. Now, when you take the square root of 10 squared, the square and the square root cancel each other out, just leaving you with what was your original radicand, which is 10. So 8 plus 10 is equal to x squared. We're going to add those two like terms now and get an 18 is equal to x squared. And we need to undo the square on x by doing a square root on both sides. Square and the square root cancel. So that's going to get us x is equal to. Now 18 is not a perfect square, So we think about perfect square factors that divide evenly into that number. Always begin by taking half and starting there and going up the list. Half of 18 is 9, and we got lucky. 9 is a perfect square. So I'm going to break up the 18 into 9 times 2. All right, so we now make that the square root of 9 times the square root of 2, and that can be simplified. So x equals the square root of 9 is 3, and you can't do anything with the square root of 2, so that's it. X is 3 root 2. The units, once again, were miles, and that's our answer, everybody, for problem number 11.